Let me tell you a story about a basketball coach. I mean, this guy, he was handsome. He had natural ability in his body. He was just fit and trim. It just came naturally to him. And he could attract a group of people. So he decided that he was going to form his own basketball team. And so he invited all these people, all his friends, to come and be a part of his team. And he would gather them, and they would sit on the edge of the court, and he'd sit them in the front row of the bleachers, and he had about 10 friends with him, and he began to teach them about how to play basketball. And he was a great storyteller. I mean, he could describe what it felt like to hold that basketball in his hands as he described the orange peel texture of the basketball and how it had that grip to it made of leather or rubber or whatever it is, but you could just feel it. And he talked about how to shoot a basket and how to do a layup. He talked about how to defend the basket, and people loved it. And so they began to invite their friends. And they said, this is my manual. He would hold up his notebook and he would begin to teach them plays, all about how to play and win the game of basketball. It got so large, this group of his, that eventually said, we need to have a pre-game show. And so they added fireworks and lights and could enter into and experience this great venue of where they would come and they would talk about basketball. Now, if you've not figured this out yet, have you noticed that I've never talked about the coach ever dribbling the ball himself and showing them how to do it? And you don't hear about any of the people that are there actually learning to actually play the game of basketball. They're just talking about it. And I'm afraid that that's what's happened to the American church, is that we talk about what it means to be a Christian, but we're actually not being the disciple makers that Jesus commands us to make in Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. He tells us our assignment, that he's going to come and evaluate us when he returns as the master. Did we do what he asked? And he asked us, go into all the world, making disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching to obey everything that I have commanded, and lo, I am with you to the end of the age. That's what Jesus has asked. So the question is, are we disciples of Jesus? And are we therefore making disciples of Jesus? That's why Daily Transformation is here. We are trying to help individuals, and we're trying to help churches get back to making reproducing disciples of Jesus. Imagine learning to listen to God through prayer and inquiring of God's will by reading the Bible every day, and then learning to have fellowship with other believers as you study the Bible together, growing each other up and sharing your faith with folks and inviting those to those Bible studies. Would you join us in helping us on this mission to help us begin to make disciples again in America? Disciples who follow Jesus, who look like Jesus, who are actually transformed by Jesus. So that way, when they're discipling people and making people look like them, they're like Paul, who says, follow me as I follow Christ. So let's make disciples of Jesus together. So isn't it time for us to get in the game? Not just talk about basketball, not just talk about discipleship, not just talk about what it means to follow Jesus Christ, but actually begin to engage with the living God, that we might get in the game with him and let him transform us into his image. I encourage you, would you download a copy of the journal or the app? Would you talk to your leaders at church or your pastor and ask them, hey, can we try doing a daily transformation fellowship Bible study and begin to make disciples in our church using that as a tool? Or perhaps you'd be willing to give to help us make this ministry happen. We're trying to make disciples in as many as 24 countries this year. The journal, in just a few years, has been translated into 15 languages. So would you partner with us and help us make this happen? God bless you.